Hello, everybody. Good morning. It's actually morning here still. Good morning and welcome to Gen Con Online 2020. This is Kosmos Games. Today we're going to be talking about the crew. But before we do that, I want to make sure everyone can hear us. So please, if someone who's watching, could they confirm they can hear me and also my sidekick or help? Jesus, introduce yourself.
I'm Jesus. I'm whatever it is, sidekick, friend, whatever you want it to be. Just
Actually,
let us know you can hear us.
You're more of the hero in this, especially for a couple of reasons. But I mean, you're managing this whole demo, so you are the hero. I'm only your sidekick. I should have said that way.
I would have said more of a villain, but that's okay. I mean.
So it looks like people can hear us, so that's good. I hit all of the right buttons to get the show started. So thanks again, everyone, for joining us. Like I said at the beginning, I'll just restate, we're going to be talking about the crew today. And we're also going to open up the floor to questions from anybody about any Cosmos games or just, well, anything in gaming, the gaming geek world. But let's give Jesus a little bit of an opportunity to actually introduce yourself. Tell us about yourself and your relationship with us, with Cosmos Games.
Absolutely. So my name is Jesus Sanchez, and I've been working with Cosmos for way too long. And I'm usually at all the big conventions with them. Tom and I spend lots of times harassing each other in booths, and it's really kind of a labor of love. Like I love Cosmos Games. I think it's a great brand, and especially now, it's like in the age of modern board games, like it's a good time to be part of Cosmos because there's a lot of really, really good titles that are out. But yeah, I mean, most people have ran into me. I'm a pretty noticeable guy. I'm a giant, so yeah.
You're tall in stature, but also in character.
Yeah, let's go with that. Some people say obnoxious,
so if you spent any time around our office, Jesus, you'd know that it's not uncommon to hear someone say, "Jesus is the best. We love Jesus." And out of context, someone walking by might think that this was some kind of religious institution. But we're very we do love you here at Cosmos Games. You're great. So we've got the best here talking about the crew, which is also the best game. It was just received the award for the Kennerspiel, which is the German connoisseur game of the year, which is a huge honor. So we're grateful for that. But it's also just a game that even before that has just had so much buzz, and it's got so much attention. It's on the Board Game Geek hotness list. It has been for the past 3 months. So yeah. Anyway, let's start getting into this. But before we get too deep, let's watch this cool little promo video. So I'll play that for everybody right now. And we're back. That was a quick clip. Caught me off guard. Jesus and I were just talking because we actually like each other, which is weird.
It's very rare. Like it's most people that are around me don't like me. So
I was gonna say I don't think I'm the most likable person, but maybe that's why we get along.
Yeah. We're the only two people that like each other, so we're like, well, we better stick together.
Yeah. All right, Jesus, the time is all yours. Let's talk about the crew.
All right, so folks, we're going to talk about the crew here, and I'm going to just pin the components video up on my screen so it's easier for me to see it. But I'm going to start by talking about kind of the main mechanics of the game. And I know there are some of you out there that already know what a trick-taking game is, so I apologize if this seems like it's just like, well, duh, Jesus. But there are some people that have never played a trick-taking game because they were like, trick-taking games, that's like euchre, right? Like, I'm not going to play one of those old-time games. Like, but a trick-taking game, in essence, is that you're going to have a deck of cards with different kinds of suits, which are usually shapes and or colors. And in Kosmos' case, our cards have both, which I think is a brilliant move in the modern board game age to help with. It's very colorblind friendly. But ours, when I'm talking about suits, I'm going to be talking about colors. So there are colors that are going to be thrown. And what's going to happen is each player is going to play a card to the middle of the table. And Tom, you can start with any color that you want. And we're going to pretend this is a 3-player game. So one player will play that 8. And then another player, in order to have a trick-taking game, they have to follow suit. So that means if they have, is that a blue card? It's hard for me to see.
It is. I've got 2 blue cards, a 3 and a 5.
Awesome. So if they have a blue card in their hand, they have to play it. So in this case, they're playing a 3 because they're going to, the highest number is going to end up winning the trick. And so they know that 8 is pretty high. So it's likely to not go to them. This player, however, has a blue 9, so they're going to play it. After everyone has played a card, the round is, quote, over, and that is what we call a trick. Whoever has the highest number wins the trick. It's that simple. Someone will start a trick, and everyone has to follow the suit, and then whoever played the highest number wins. That's it. And then whoever won the previous trick gets to start the next trick. In this game, there are these rocket cards. There are 4 of them. And rocket cards are what we call trump cards, meaning that they beat everything. However, the tricky part is the only way you can ever play a card that is not following suit is if you don't have it. So even if you have a rocket card, if you have, like, this player does not have a blue card, so they can either throw off and play any other card, or if they wanted to win the trick, they could throw a rocket card. And in this case, it doesn't matter what anyone else played, that rocket card won. That's the trick game. It's very simple. And Tom, you said this last time we showed this. I really, really thought that this was like a brilliant way to explain this. The Crew is a game that your grandparents can teach you. Because most grandparents play bridge, play spades, play euchre, and they're very familiar with trick-taking games. And so this mechanic is like, grandma and grandpa will get this like really easy. I mean, nowadays, grandma and grandpas are into modern board games. I'm talking like my grandma and grandpa that were much but the Crew is not just a simple trick-taking game like that. I mean, that in essence is what it is. What makes the Crew unique is that it is 100% cooperative, which I think is brilliant. What you do in the Crew is actually, there's a logbook, which is right up there, and Tom has shown. The logbook is going to give you missions that you have to play. And the missions, in the simple essence, we're gonna set up the very first mission, which is, and you can see on Tom's stream, it tells you how many cards that you're going to be dealing out. So at the beginning of a round, you're going to deal out the whole deck to every player. It's going to evenly be distributed. And then the mission might say you're going to have 1 card that you have to deal out. That is your mission. So after Tom deals these out, he will deal them out. And
I'm dealing them in 3s, but that's not part of the game. You can deal them out like you would any other card game.
Yeah,
this is just faster.
Because Jesus talks really fast. So now that the cards are all dealt out, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to look, and each player is going to look at their hand, and whoever has the 4 rocket, they become what is called the mission commander, which in essence means, and that's the beautiful little token that Tom is showing, which that means that they're going to be the first player to play a trick, and it also has a few other features in later missions. But the first mission, it's going to tell you that you have one objective, which there's a little deck of cards. You notice these cute little cards that Tom put out. They're miniature cards. This card is telling you that whoever has that, in this case, the first player to take a mission is going to be the mission commander. So it would go to the mission commander. Now, our objective as a cooperative game is that mission commander has to win the trick that has the 2 in it. That has that 2, and I think it's green. And I'm sorry about the color, but that I can't see the color very well. But it is saying that the mission commander has to win the trick that has the 2 in it. So he played the 7. So if someone else, it would be very, very bad if anybody else played anything higher than a 7 right now, because they know that the mission commander has to win that 2. So Tom, can you finish out this hand?
Yeah, I just made the screen bigger on YouTube, so people can hopefully see the colors a little bit better. We're also playing on a green background, which makes the green card. But yeah, okay. So commander's trying to get the green 2. The commander didn't have the green 2, which is lucky, because that can happen.
Yeah, it's harder to win a low card.
So we're lucky in this case. Second player doesn't have the 2, but they also have other green cards, which means I'm not forced to play a higher card.
Yeah.
Which would have been bad.
But they played the 5, so right now it's still going to the mission commander. And then, awesome. The 2 came out, so the mission commander who played the highest card wins the trick. The mission is over. So you put all the cards back together and you're going to deal it out. Now, I want to stop right here because, and the last time we did this, someone that was watching really helped me out and said this, because right now this turned out so simple, and it really is. The first mission is very simple. However, it is super diverse. It actually says in the rule book that with 4 players, the very first mission that everyone just saw really quickly, there are over 42 trillion different ways that can play out. 42 trillion ways that very first hand could come out, which is the easiest hand in my opinion, and it still can lose. Now,
I've lost it before.
That doesn't surprise me. But there's also, now, some of you are like, hey, Jesus, you and Tom just talked us through that, and it was like the simplest thing ever. Yeah, because we're doing something that is a big no-no that you cannot do in the crew. We can't talk to each other. We can't, if Tom didn't have that 2 in his hand, he can't be like, oh, I have all these other cards, but should I play this 5 because it would help? No, you can't talk to each other. There's a very cool mechanic in this game of how to communicate. And Tom was so awesome to put those communication tokens on the table. They're double-sided, and one side's green, one side is red. Did we find our mission commander, Tom?
Look at this. This is totally random. I shuffled the cards. But the third player here has all 4 of the rocket cards. Rocket cards go from 1 to 4. This player's got them all. That's pretty powerful, but it may not be good.
No, it really doesn't. Because once again, you can only play those if you don't have the suit. Which now that player is the only player that knows they have all of the trump cards. So back to our communication cards. So this one, we're setting up a new mission where there are 2 objectives. The first thing is the mission commander will choose one of the missions. They can choose any mission that they want, and then it's going to continue clockwise around the table to take them. So in this case, there's only going to be 2 people that have missions. I can tell you that later on, players are going to have multiple missions. This is, folks, we have the baby training wheels on with the nice little streamers off of our handlebars on right now.
So I'm going to communicate something here.
So Tom is going to communicate because we can't really talk to each other. Now, with these communication tokens, there are 3 places you can place them on your card. Where Tom has currently placed it on that 7 is telling me that that is the only 7 blue he has. It's the only one he has in his hand. If he were to put it on the bottom, that would tell me, just like, you know, where it is on the card, that's the lowest blue 7 or the lowest blue card he has. At the top, that's telling me it's the highest blue card he has. So in the middle, I know that he only has a 7. So that mission command, or the mission where someone has to win the 6, they know they need to get that blue 7 out of his hand before they can win that. Because if someone plays that blue 6, he has no other option but to play that blue 7. And
I'm going to mention something here real quick, because this doesn't happen very often, but it's a strategy, so I'll explain it.
Yeah.
You can treat the rocket cards just like any other suit. You can start a hand with it. If I play a rocket card, the other players have to play a rocket card as well. But in this case, where the commander has all of them, how easy is this? I play the rocket card, and I know that the other 2 players don't have it, so they can look at their cards and be like, okay, I'm gonna get rid of this card. They are not gonna win. They know that they're not gonna win.
Even though they played a 9.
And this one plays the 4.
They didn't have to follow the suit of the previous player, but they just threw off that 4 because that mission commander needed that 4. That was a good strategy. Never happens that way, but that was pretty awesome. Yeah. Now, I should also note that I'm super forgetful. So when I have to play a card, when I put a card in the table in front of me to communicate, that card is not out of my hand. That card is still part of my hand. So Kosmos was kind enough for people like, I'm convinced that you put this in here just for me because I'm very forgetful, that there are a double-sided moon card that you put in your hand to remind you. It's like, hey, dummy, look down. There's still a card that you can use. So that 7, even though you're communicating with it, it's still a viable option for you to use. And so that is the simplest way. The crew, it is so brilliantly simple, but it actually takes way longer to explain the game than to like actually understand the game. There are some other tricky options in it too for different missions. Instead of just dealing there's 50 missions in here, folks. So it's not 50 missions of just dealing cards out and people randomly taking them. Some missions you deal tokens out, and they could be numbered 1 through 5, and then you deal out the cards to each one of them, and the numbers are telling you that each one of those tricks have to be won in that order. Now, the trick that has a number 1, that doesn't mean that it has to be the first trick that's won. It means in your objectives, that's the first one you have to do. Then you have to do number 2 in order. The little arrows work similar, but very differently in the fact that they give you more options. The 1 arrow means that has to be taken before any of the other arrow tricks. Then you can do like 50 other tricks in between it. Then you have to do the 2 arrow. They have to be done in order, but they do not have to be done right after each other, which I think is unique. And then I want to say that's an omega sign, but I don't know what sign that is. It looks like a U to me, or a horse.
It is the omega sign, yeah.
Boom, I'm awesome.
Way to go, Jesus.
That sign, that token tells you whatever trick that is on, whatever mission card that's on, that has to be the very last trick that you take, which makes it really difficult. There's some other things too, like there's missions that not only will it deal out cards you have to win, but there is communication disruption where you can't communicate with each other for a few rounds, which is crazy. Sometimes it's like 3 or 4 tricks have to be won before you can communicate, and 3 or 4 tricks is a lot when you have a bunch of missions you're trying to complete. Some of them are a complete communication breakdown where you can't even communicate. Some of them are the mission commander knows what cards are coming out, and they have to ask everyone, how do you feel about winning everything? and then they have to decide who's going to get all the missions. It's really cool. I love the fact that there's also and I hate to talk about this because I only feel that I would ever have to use this token is if I was really playing with Tom, and it's the signal token. This comes in when you bring this into play. Every player at the beginning of the trick can give a card, or beginning of the mission, they give a card to someone else, and that can help you. It makes it a little easier. I don't feel it's really necessary unless you jump right into like mission like 40, and then you might want to do that. But in general, and we don't let you get off the hook there. Like, we've learned a lot from the exit games about punishment. So if you use that signal token in the logbook, not only can you log which missions you've done, which I think is awesome, so you can keep track, so you don't, if you have a lot of games, you can come back to this and be like, oh, I've already done these missions, cool. But there's also a spot to mark if you had to use that signal token, which is kind of cool. And there's a little flavor text to this, because it's not just a dull like trick-taking game. There's really a thing that you're trying to do to add a little theme to this, which is that you are a crew that's hired to go out and discover if there is a ninth planet, and you have to do all of these missions to see if you can do that. I love that the very first mission is it's like a baby step one, and even the like logbook kind of makes fun of you. It's like, we're gonna see if we made a right decision on getting this crew together. Let's see if you can work together. Let's do a really easy thing and see if you can get along. And I think they're trying to say that if you fail the first mission, you should rethink your playing group, maybe. I'm just saying that. But
every crew has the potential. You just got to go through training. Some people take longer in training than others, but I think I've now played this game with countless people, right? Taught it to them at conventions before the pandemic, and also just friends and family. There isn't a person yet who hasn't picked up the game. There are some people where it takes a few hands before they start to kind of get the grasp of it. And that's because, like you said at the very beginning, some people, they've never played a trick-taking game. That word, that term, trick-taking, is like a language that we understand, but some people just don't even know that. So, potential, everyone can do it. You just got extra training.
I feel very lucky because in my household, my wife is like, she loves old style trick taking games like, euchre and things like that. And then I have my daughter who has never played a trick taking game at all. So I taught them this game, and I told them, hey, I don't want you to talk because I want to make sure that you understand this, because we're going to be doing this for Gen Con. And they both picked it up like very, very easily. Like, my daughter struggled a little bit, but within, like you said, 1 or 2 tricks, she was like, oh, okay, I get it. And I think people that don't play trick-taking games, I don't want to say they have a slight advantage, but they don't have the history of looking at every trick-taking game as, I have to win this trick. And I think that's hard for some of us who have played old-style trick games, because your first instinct is to play the highest card of that color you have, because you're like, I'm going to win it. But in this, you can't do that. You really have to pay attention to, and especially, like I said, we kind of did this baby steps here, but when I told Tom this the other day, that I played the first 10 missions with my wife and my daughter, and that was not on me. I love this game, but they're not big gamers, but it was like, I planned on playing a couple missions so I could get the feel of how they responded to it. And it kept, after every mission, they would say, you want to play another one? What's the next one? What are we going to do? What's next? And it was like very addictive, which was awesome. And then at the very end, I told my daughter to pick any mission from 1 to 50, and she picked 49, and it was rough. We did not win that mission. And and they wanted to try it again. And I was like, nope, let's call it a night. But and that was with 3 players. And mission 10, folks, it has 10 missions that you have to do. Like, I mean, it has 10 objectives that come out. So there was 3 of us with 10 cards we have to win. That is a whole stack of cards that have to win, especially when, like in our case, it comes out randomly and there were a bunch of the same colors that came out, and that gets really hard. If you had to win the 2 and I had to win the 3 of yellow, that would be really hard if we didn't have a lot of high-end yellow cards. Like, it's low cards I feel are harder to win.
They can be, especially when you get dealt the low card and you have to win it. It's really tough.
And it's like I want people, like, seriously, like, when this video is over, folks, like, your local game stores that have this in stock are going to be open for a little bit. Mask up, go buy it, because I don't feel like we're doing it justice with, like, talking about it, because it's really this beautiful line of, like, stress, because you can't just say, all right, this is the lowest card I got, come on, let's go. Because it's cooperative, you really just want to keep your mouth shut. Like, and after we played like 3 missions, I kept turning to my wife and I was like, let her play, because she was trying to help her still, because you know, she was new at it. And I was like, nope, we're past mission 2. She's already got off the ground. We're already strapped into this rocket. We're going. Like, you need to leave her be. If she's gonna make a mistake and blow our rocket up, like, then it's on her. Like, so it was really fun. Like, and they've asked me the past couple of days if we played again, and I was like, but I have Targi, the expansion. I have so many cool games. Can we play something else too?
This is one of the few games I've actually been able to play recently with friends, and it's because we all love it so much. Someone just asked Jesus, so I'm going to let you take this question, but could you explain the difference between the numbers and the arrows a little bit more?
Yeah. So the numbers very much dictate what you have to do in order. Okay? So, like, when you have the numbers are telling you that this trick must be fulfilled first, and then number 2 must be fulfilled second. Now,
those 2 they can happen whenever. They can happen anytime after the first 2.
Yeah, and here's what, and I understand the confusion with this, because you are seeing this from a very low numbered mission. When you get up to the higher numbers, when there's 5 or 6 cards, and you have a couple cards that have numbers and a couple cards that have arrows, that's when it really kind of starts mattering about those, because those numbers are telling you that the mission has to be done or the objectives have to be done in this order. Those arrows, they give you a little more wiggle room. So the let's say that we had numbers 1. You have 4 cards up there, right, Tom?
Yeah.
All right. So can you put you have 2 arrows? Can you put number 1 and 2 on the other ones?
I'm not sure if that happens in the logbook, actually.
I don't know if it does, but
all right, let's do this. What would happen here?
So in here, the number 4 would have to be the first objective that is won. It doesn't have to be the first trick that's won. It has to be the first objective that's won. And number 2 would have to be the second objective that is won. The arrows, so take those numbers off, Tom.
Take these off?
No, take the arrow, put the arrows on, but take the numbers off. If you had a mission that looked like this, you could do the 4 pink. You could win that objective first. Then you could win the 3. You could then win that. You could do it in any order, as long as the 2 cards that have the arrow tokens are done in order, meaning that the 1 arrow has to be done sometime before the arrow 2 is done. It doesn't have to be done right before it. It doesn't have to be done first. It just has to be done before that 2 arrow objective is won. So there's a lot more wiggle room on when you can win those. When the numbers are on there, they're telling you, if you're going to start your objectives, this has to be the first one. This has to be the second one. There's no wiggle room. It's you have to win that 4 first. You have to win this. So the arrows give you a little more wiggle room. That's really what it does, is there's a little more wiggle room. When I first played it, I was like, why would I care about either or? Until I started getting up to those high missions, and then there were a few arrows out, and I was like, oh, thank goodness for these arrows, because I don't have to do them right away. Because you might have your hand, which is like a deck of cards at the beginning. You have all of these cards, and you might have to win the one of something. And you're like, I have the one of something, but I don't have any other of that card. So that means every other card in every other player's hand is higher than this. And that has to be the first objective we win. How am I going to do that? That's when the numbers really start hurting you. If it was an arrow, you could be like, all right, I'm going to put this on the back burner for a little bit until I feel it's right that I can do this.
Jesus, that was a great explanation. Thank you. A couple of points while they're on my mind. Do you mind if I jump in real quick?
Go right ahead, please.
Okay, so we started off this video, and I was talking about how this was the Kennerspiel winner, Kennerspiel des Jahres winner, which means it's the connoisseur or expert game. But I want to point out that I think that this is a family game. I'm not saying that the judges got it wrong. I do think that this is a game that has some real meat you can sink your teeth into. But I also think that this is a game that you can play with your family, even if your family doesn't necessarily play board games or modern games per se. So I wanted to just mention that before I forgot about it. And then,
well, I want to throw this in there too, like. And it's to pair onto what you were just saying. Like, you're right. The Kennerspiel is more of that strategic kind of quote heavier game, if you will. But if I think about it, like, how many families play euchre or play spades? And that's a very strategic game, you know. Like so you're right. Like, just because it won the Kenner doesn't mean that it's heavy in any way. Like, I mean, there is a lot to this game of strategy. But it's not complex. Like, it is a puzzly, work together game, and I think it is beautifully done. And I think it deserved the Kenner, because I really agree with it. I think it is very obtainable by families, but I also think that it would be doing it injustice to not tell how crunchy. I love that word. How crunchy this game is. Like, it is. There's a lot to sink your teeth into, and it's beautiful. It's a beautiful game.
Thank you for letting me kind of jump in there and appreciate your thoughts on it as well. There's a couple more things about the crew that I wanted to make sure that we're mentioning. First of all, the price. MSRP is $14.95, and these are nice linen finish cards. Nice quality, thick cardboard tokens. Everything is really top quality, really, really nice. It's made to be a game that you can play hundreds of times. The components have to be capable to take that abuse, and these do that for a really good price. Also, the crew was released earlier this year, but due to its popularity and the buzz around it, it sold out at most places pretty quick. But it is back in stock now, so your local game store should by now have it, because we shipped out to distributors and stores a little over a week ago, maybe 2 weeks ago now. So local stores, if you're watching in real time, you can definitely order this game right now from your distributors. So please do that. And I always like supporting local stores, so that's where I go. That's where I first recommend. But if you're in a place that doesn't have a local store, this is available on Amazon as well. So,
yep.
Let's see. Anyway, continue, Jesus. If you had other things you wanted to mention.
Now we're just getting to the nitty gritty, like kind of nerdy stuff that I really appreciate, which is like the rule book is beautifully written. It explains everything very quickly. It is very true that on the front it says start reading here, and that's like, if you've never played a trick taking game, start reading here. if you have, it's like start playing from page 11, which is really cool. And I really appreciate that the rule book is, there's not multiple rule books. It's one rule book, and then upside down and flipped over on the back is the log book, which is awesome. So you don't accidentally run into, the end scenario stuff. So when you pick up this rule book, when I first opened this box like months ago and grabbed this rule book out, I was like, whoa, what am I about to get into? Like, I want you to dive in, folks, because if you're like me, which your brain like just doesn't comprehend stuff all the time, and sometimes you pick up a rule book and if it like weighs your arm down, you're like, I need to grab a cup of coffee if I'm going to be doing this. Don't do that, because half of this rule book is the mission. So it's actually a pretty skinny rule book that you can get into really quickly, but you won't need it because you can just come back and watch this video and see us and be like, oh, I know how to play this. Like,
I just remembered someone mentioned this after our last show and I forgot to show it. The cards create a panorama, and I love that. I think that that's cool, but I'm also going to point out, let's see, this is my favorite card. Number 2. Not only does it create a panorama, but if you take a look at this card, maybe this camera might actually be better. Except the lighting is bad. Okay, you can't really see, but the backpack that he has on, that kind of looks like Marvin, or from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. He's got a towel, and he's also got like a little like tablet that has the number 42 on it. So if you're familiar with Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, all those things should kind of be ticking. They're nice little Easter eggs, and the full complement of cards all have kind of Easter eggs like that in it. And I'm not going to give any more away, but
that's really cool.
Definitely like a geeky game, but you could overlook that if you're not a geek.
Yeah. And one of the things too is like the picture on the front of the box in the rule book, the ninth planet. That, like, I think it's beautiful. Like, just from an art perspective, like that blue, like that's crossing over that ninth planet. Like, it's such a beautiful image. I love more than anything, and I love a whole bunch about this game, but I love the back of the cards. Like, they're just like, I found that, like, and this sounds like I'm just trying to sell this game up, but like literally there were some times that the only reason I noticed that was because like I'm looking at my wife's hands of cards and my daughter's, and I can see the back of them with that blue thing, and I was just like staring at them. I was like, that's really cool. Like, and and what's cool is this too, and this is something we didn't mention, Tom, but my daughter had asked me this when I dealt out all the cards to her. She was like, so should I sort these by color? And I now, every time I teach this, I now will tell them this. You should sort them by color and by number, because it also makes a picture. And then it will be easier for them to organize their hand. And then they also get something to look at. Not that there's downtime in this game, because there are so many times that you're just like, come on, it's your turn. Let's go. Hurry up.
It's an intense game, because even when someone else is taking their time to play a card, I'm constantly racking my brain. Like, what do I need to play? What if he plays this? Oh no. What if she has that? Like,
yeah,
it's a great game. It's
you're like looking, and do you find yourself looking over and you're like, do they know that, like, if someone's playing like a pink trick, do you look over and you're like, do they know she needs to win the 3? Like, please don't play the 3 so that I win the 9. Like,
yeah,
like it's good. It's really good. Questions?
So let's say you're watching this and you've played this, and so you're watching this video because you're just such a big fan. I want to make sure you guys know that there's extra content online. If you go to the Thames and Kosmos website, there's an activities toolbar drop-down menu on the top. If you click that, you can navigate to the print and play section, where there's actually a lot of print and play content. But some of that content, there's the 5 missions to the Des Moines Mars. I have a hard time remembering the name of that. It's a Martian moon, and it's got 5 little extra activities that you can download and play for free, and they're pretty great. They're pretty great. So definitely check that out. And also while you're there, you can check out mini expansions and scoring variants for other games. So definitely check that out.
So can you tell me where that is, like when you do the pull down menu, do you happen to know offhand what it's under?
Is it the home activities? Is that what it's called?
I'm literally like pulling it up on my phone as we're doing this because I want. Oh yeah. So you pull it up and it's at home activities, and there's a whole bunch of stuff. There's actually, because we do there's lots of science stuff too. But yeah, it's really like I'm literally opening it right now as we're doing this live, and my phone. I'm very fortunate that I can print from my phone. I'm going to print this while we're talking, so I can show that it is that easy. So there's not an excuse. There's maybe I won't be printing this. So folks, there are five extra pages you can print that each one has 3 missions on it.
It's got its own narrative too, which is actually pretty cool. So definitely check it out.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, that's 15 extra missions that you can go print right now. So that brings it up to, 65 missions that you could do if you want. And I'm looking at this, and it does not look like it's going to be easy. So, these are not the baby step ones.
I keep coming up with things that I want to make sure that I mention. So I apologize for interrupting you again, Jesus. But I wanted to say quickly that so this is, as we've said probably 500 times already, it's a trick-taking game. And I think a lot of people focus on the fact that this is a cooperative trick-taking game, and that is a really novel new idea. But I think that the strength of this game is more than just that novel trick-taking cooperative game. I really love, and I feel like the communication in this is genius, because that little bit of information that you can give is so important, and being able to know how to use it, you really have to play the game to appreciate how brilliant this little addition is. So that's my last 2 cents about the game that I wanted to make sure I said.
No, it really is. Like it's a very well thought out system. Like I appreciate the simplicity of it, but the complexity of it, if that makes sense. Like I love that it is down home and familiar, but there is I think the reason why so many people love this is because they took something that's like very familiar, and there's this really, really good twist to it. I hate to use a comparison, but like Targi became that quintessential worker placement game. Like this, I have for years and years, I have a feeling this is going to be the quintessential trick-taking cooperative game that everyone goes to, which is great. And rightfully so. Like, I mean, I'm not trying to boast, but I mean, it did win the Kennerspiel. Like, it's like, I used to jokingly tell people when they would ask me like, well, what exit games are the best? What exit room games? The Exit or the other ones? And I would say, it's how you feel about it, but how I feel is there is a brand that won an award, and that would probably be the one I'd want to start with, because it was that little tongue-in-cheek kind of joke, but it's true. I mean, you're gonna want to listen to the awards, and that's not to say that this is for everybody. I feel like everyone can get it, but like the beautiful thing about board games, when I hear like people talk about how there are so many board games out now, and they're like, but maybe the market is overflooded. I'm like, yeah, but you have to understand, like, it's just like music, and that's really close to me. Like, it is very subjective to your own personal taste. So you can go out, and there could be a game that I've played games that people have raved about that it just doesn't hit with me. Like, I'm just like, it's just not for me, But I think this is one of those beautifully games that anyone can pick up, anyone can play, and I think anyone would enjoy it. And I think that's kind of the Kosmos brand, is like, it's for everybody. It's not just for heavy gamers.
The crew is the Beatles, right?
Yeah.
Not everyone loves the Beatles. Some people are wrong,
It's true, yeah.
Not everyone's going to love the crew, but they can be wrong, and that's fine. It's a great game.
There's enough right people to make up for the wrong people, Tom, is what you're trying to say.
Let's see. I want to open it up for questions. We've got 15 minutes left, so please, if people have questions about this game or any of the Kosmos games or just anything at all. Yeah.
I mean, like, seriously, like, you can, even if you, like, try to stump me about Kosmos games that we have out, like, seriously, like, I don't want to have to fill the next 15 minutes with my obnoxious voice. Like, give us some questions about any Kosmos games, and we can hopefully answer them.
So a couple comments that I just want to reiterate, which I think are great. Someone, Juggling Bob, says that each round is so short, you can sneak in a few and you just have a few minutes. That's very true. That's something we didn't bring up. You might lose every once in a while, but that's fine because the game is so quick. Each round, you can spend hours and hours playing this, but rounds are very short. So if you only have a little bit of time, or this happened to me the other day when we were playing. We lost. It was like mission 12 on the very first hand.
Yeah.
It's like but it only took another 30 seconds to set back up and try again, and I can really appreciate that.
And it like I said earlier too, like the very first trick I played with my family, we won it on the very first trick, and it was mission 1. We won it in one trick, and it literally took longer to deal out the cards than to play that trick. But like I said, look, there's like 42 trillion different ways that comes out. Like, we set it up, and like I've never seen the 4 rocket cards go into anybody's hand ever. And it happened, like, so yeah, you're right. Like, that is, I think, a bonus to this game, is how quick everything is, because you're not dedicating 2 hours to a game that you lose, and then you're like, you're dedicating a minute or two, and then you lose, and you're like, well, that sucked, let's do it again.
Mm-hmm.
That should have been on the box, Tom. That should have been on the, like, you want to play the next one? Let's do that again. Those are the quotes. We don't need the reviewer quotes. That's what the public will say. I guarantee every table you will hear that at least once. You want to play the next one, or let's set that up again. That's what the crew is.
Yeah, let's set that up again.
Yeah.
We have a question about the exit games.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like I get asked this question on every video, and I've now had some time to think about it more. I still go with my first answer, which is the best exit. I think it really just depends on the theme that you like. However, my favorite, and I think it's totally subjective, because the first one I played, it blew me away, and I think that's going to mean more to me than almost any other thing. So the first one you play is going to probably be your favorite one. First one I played was the Abandoned Cabin, and that's so good. But like every other one that I've played, I've had those like stand-up moments where I'm blown away by the creativity of the riddles, and also like their ability to, well, no spoilers. So yeah, Jesus, your favorite exit? Can you put your finger on one?
Yes, I can. My favorite exit is not the first exit I played, because like I played, and I've played a lot of them. Before last Gen Con, I sat down with my wife and I played through, I would say, almost everyone we had put out at that time. Mm-hmm. So that I went into Gen Con being like, boom, I know this. And I still got questions I didn't know. But my favorite one to date is Sinister Mansion. I really like the puzzles in that. I really like that.
I thought that was a little bit harder one, which is not a bad thing. I think it's good, but I thought that was a hard one.
There's a part in it, and then that's and I'm sorry people, that's Tom and I say this in the booth all the time. There's a part in it that is really cool. All you can say.
It is all you can say.
There's a part in it that is really cool. So that is my favorite. I liked, but I'm also kind of a themey person that like I make sure I read all the cards and like kind of really immerse myself in it. And I also am a go in and kind of like find the background music and stuff like that. Like I try to set the mood and all that with those games. But Sinister Mansion I really enjoyed.
So Cosmos UK, they suggested exit the roller coaster, the haunted roller coaster. That's a great one. So someone else said that they've only played one of the adventure games, but they think they prefer that. You don't have to choose. They're both fun. They are similar though. I feel like some people feel like they have to choose because they're different, like brands within the board games. But I mean, they're similar enough. You can like both of them, not feel bad about it.
I like what I like about the adventure game is, and this is with no spoilers. What I like about the adventure games, as opposed to the exit games, which I enjoy both of them, but I like the adventure games how after a session, it looks like you have a game set up. Mm-hmm. Exit game, it looks like you went through a battle. Like there's stuff everywhere, there's notes everywhere and stuff. So that's what I really like is that, and I love how with the adventure games you can kind of save and come back. So I've done it with one of my gaming buddies. Him and I have played through them like just together, and we keep saving it. Like I have a little baggie that I put the stuff where we're at, and I come back to it. So it's really there. Yeah, you don't have to choose. Come on, folks, you don't have to choose.
All right, so someone asked me if we have plans for an expansion for the crew. I already mentioned the extra missions that are available. That's kind of like an expansion. Actually, it is not kind of. It is. That is an expansion. So that's already available and it's free. But as far as extra content, above and beyond that, we don't have anything planned. But I'm going to plug myself here real quick. I love getting emails from people with suggestions, recommendations, or even just thoughts. That's how Targi the expansion became published again, or published for the first time in English, is because I got so many emails, right, from Board Game Geek users or just people contacting. What I'm getting at is if you have if you were like, I want an expansion for the crew, let me know. You can email me. You can find my email address on thamesandcosmos.com, or you can just write this down. It's contact@thamesandcosmos.com. Send me an email. Just say, hey, Tom, I really want to see more for the crew. I'm happy to get those emails.
Absolutely. And Tom really means that too. Like we were talking about Targi the expansion yesterday, and that was a big part of our thing was really trying to enforce that only happened because of users, like because of the people that kept doing that. So Tom really does mean this. Like he's a very lonely man that loves reading emails. Like send him emails. Like seriously, like I will go out and say, go to Board Game Geek, start a thread, throw his email on there. If you want a crew expansion, start a thread on there and just have people flooding his email, because that is the way that it will happen, folks. Like, because Cosmos does not put out expansions unless there is a real need for it, and that's good. It's like we were talking yesterday about this, and I think this stands with every game in the Cosmos line, that it's the Cosmos philosophy is get it right the first time. There's never this should answer any future things. There is never a Cosmos game that comes out that there is an expansion sitting in their back pocket waiting.
Right.
It's like they will produce everything as they have it. And, like you said with Emotep, there was no plan of an expansion for that until you got flooded with emails, and then you contacted the designer. So he really means it, folks. Like, let him know. Make
the best game the first time. That's my motto. Don't plan on fixing anything later.
Yes.
Do it right the first time and do it right. So someone asked a question about the exit games, and are they all hard? Yes, they are. I mean,
I'm just kidding. Like my
even
was
the
shaking to disagree. My head was shaking because like I've played the simplest game and completely messed it up. So
Yeah.
it was like I'm such a dummy. Shake my head. I apologize because I realized it came across and I was like, no, they're easy. Like, no, they're not. They're hard.
So even those two circle ones that are supposed to be the beginner ones, don't let that word trick you. They're not easy. It just means that they're a little bit easier, especially when you're trying to learn the mechanics of the game. I always recommend start with the easy ones. Even my hardcore gamer friends who are like, we play board games all the time. We play cooperative games all the time. And it's like, start with an easy one. They're like, nah, we're going straight for the Catacombs of Horror. It's like,
no,
don't do it. Don't do it. They did it. They did it. And it took them a very long time. They still had a good time, but I think they would have enjoyed it more if they'd planned or trained themselves. But yes, so to answer your question, none of them are easy, but that's also why they had those help cards. Talking about like genius solutions, right? Like the communication in the crew, it's that little thing that really like turns the volume up a little bit on the game. And the help cards in Exit the game, brilliant. It gives you the ability to get through every game, even if you completely miss a clue, you can still find the answer and move on.
Yes. And I'm going to throw this out there that, like, Tom, you and I have talked about how my wife doesn't like to play the exit games with me because she doesn't feel I'm smart enough. I've played the easy ones, and it is a kick in the teeth when you have to get a help card in, like, the easiest one that you're going in, you're like, oh, that's the easiest one, I got this. And then you're like, I need help. Like, and then you look at it and you're like, yep. All right. Well, I feel dumb. So yeah, they're all very puzzly.
Yeah, there's a lot of face to palm reactions on my part when I'm playing those games. I think playing them by yourself is really tough.
It is.
I think regardless of how smart you are, you only have two sets of eyes, or one set of eyes. Hopefully you don't have two sets of eyes. two eyes, a pair. Or even like, anyway, not trying to like exclude anyone. If you have one eye, you can also play these games. Absolutely. It's so much harder doing it by yourself. You definitely need someone who has a different perspective on the clues and the puzzles. In my opinion, you can definitely play it by yourself, as Jesus does, and have a good time. But I like having someone else help me out of puzzles that I can't figure out. All right. Let's see. Any more questions? We got Cosmos Games UK. They're mentioning a lot of the exit games in the difficulty level. And yes, exit games are great for travel.
Yes.
We only have a couple minutes, Jesus, so I want to give you some time to kind of give your final thoughts on everything.
So kind of my final thoughts on everything. Well, I think that, like I said yesterday, I think this is a brilliant year for Cosmos Games, and there are lots of really, really good games that have come out. Yeah, like everything behind you is just fantastic. I really enjoy Targi, the expansion. The crew is fantastic. I mean, I keep saying, like, to people, when I see the crew at a game store, I'm like, you need to go grab that if you don't have it, because it's not going to be here very long. And then you're going to have to wait for them to get it back in, because it's gonna go. Like, the crew is for those that have not had the crew in their hand but have played an exit game, it is the exact same size box, so it takes up roughly the same amount of space. So it is for that the people that were saying the exit games are good for travel, so is the crew. It's very good, and same with the adventure games too. You have them not even, like, they look bigger now because you had them not even with each other.
Oh, well,
it's all right. So, but no, I mean, there are lots of really, really good games coming out. The crew is a fantastic addition to the Cosmos library. So if you haven't checked it out, you really are kind of doing yourself a disservice. It's a really good game. So
thank you, Jesus, for going through and demoing the game for us, giving us your thoughts. Thank you, everyone, for coming and watching and participating. Thank you for the good, interesting questions and comments. We really appreciate it. This has been fun. Gen Con Online has been fun. I don't want to say it's better than the live one. I'm still a fan of actually interacting with people. I like seeing people and talking to people. So this is what we got this year, and I'm glad that we could do it. I hope everyone else really enjoyed themselves and appreciates this too. So thank you all so much, and I will not see you later on this channel, but I will be on the BGG channel later tonight talking about Aqualin, which is a 2-player game. So if you have time, check me out there, 6 o'clock. Thanks, and goodbye.
bye.